Welcome back to the Marquee Media Studio with Mark Haney, igniting the entrepreneurial revolution with the
Welcome back to the HaneyBiz
Project.
brought to you courtesy of Hub International and Legion AVS. I'm Mark Haney, and I am joined by Ben Gumpert, the COO of the Sac Republic. How you doing, Ben?
I'm doing well. It's great to be here. Appreciate it.
Glad you are here. I want to know what's going on with the Republic today. We all know it is the soccer team in town, but tell us what the latest and greatest is with the Sac Republic.
Well, we're fresh in season. Just came back last night. Had a match in Fresno. Got a road victory, 1-0.
Nice.
Team's playing extremely well. Tied for second in the conference and actually in the entire league of now 33 teams, which has been actually an interesting story around the growth of soccer. Everyone talks about MLS, which I'm sure we'll talk about, but USL, the second division, now has 33 teams and very well capitalized teams, which has been an amazing growth story and proof of soccer, which you see at all levels. But it's exciting that we have a great group of guys on the field that we put together, a new coach, a new general manager, and most importantly, and especially for our home matches, we have the fan base that continues to pour out, continues to support, continues to be incredibly passionate about their republic, as they should be. So we're having fun.
Yeah, well, talk to us about the fan experience. We are season tickets holders. We got the VIP seats, but what it's like for the family so often is really an incredible experience.
Yeah, well, you're all VIP all the time.
No doubt. Yeah,
right. That's the way to do it. Listen, I mean, we take very seriously the fan experience for all those segments, right? So we have families that come up to me all the time and kids running around that we want to make sure get engaged. People that want to bring out their friends and drink some beers and drink some nice craft brews and enjoy the Sacramento evening. Also, certainly some business leaders in our community are out there, and everything in between. And I think that's what we love about what has happened here, especially around soccer, is that almost by definition it's this world's game, right? It's the global game, and literally in every corner of the world it's played, in rich areas and poor areas, in areas in Latin America, in Asia, in Europe, you name it. And obviously, as we sit here today, as the first day of the World Cup, or as the World Cup is starting, it's a nice testament to show what's happening, and we have it right in our backyard. Maybe not at the same scale, but right here in our backyard. And one other thing we take very seriously is sort of this idea of accessibility. And so I love seeing our fans and 5-year-olds running around kicking and scoring a goal on a real goal after the game. And we try and do everything we can to open up our field, to have our players that go out and shake hands and after every single game and go out into the stands and thank the supporters for the amazing support that they give. And it really creates just a great environment no matter what you're looking for.
Why is Sacramento, beyond the Republic, you run the business, you guys run a great business, but why is soccer so popular here in Sacramento? What makes this a soccer town?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes to its roots that we were just talking about, Sacramento, and I think Time Magazine actually coined an article, it's about, a decade old, but it still holds true, is that in many ways, this was a Time article that said Sacramento is the most diverse city in the United States.
Yeah.
It's a really balanced city from, there's certainly a Caucasian population, a Hispanic population, an Asian American population, African American population, and it's really balanced across the city. And not only is that really balanced, it's a very integrated city in a way. And so I think, that affords us, first of all, that's one of the reasons why we love Sacramento as a community, right? That we come from all different walks of life, but come together around a unified spirit. And there's no better place to do that than around sports, right? That's a unifying engine, and certainly one of the reasons that I love sports and I'm incredibly passionate about it, and certainly here in Sacramento. You combine those two things and you start to see why soccer has been so successful. When you look at and it plays out, right? And we'll talk about, just like John, I was a Bain guy and had my analytics training. It's about data, and I think the latest youth numbers have nearly 100,000 youth play formal youth soccer in the Sacramento region. And just to give you a sense for that number, that's more than the states of Oregon and Colorado combined, right? Two that have MLS teams and bona fide soccer programs. that's just here in the Sacramento region. So it's really unbelievable what's happened. This truly is a soccer region and a soccer city, and that plays out with the Republic.
Well, you started off at Bain, and then it led you to the NBA, which led you to the Kings. Talk to us a little bit about your journey and how different it is now being part of this quest for MLS.
Yeah, well, I mean, I grew up down the street, and was a Sacramento boy, born and bred. My mom moved to Sacramento when she was 5 years old. We'll talk about her parents operated a general store in South Sacramento, so certainly had some exposure to entrepreneurs. And then and my dad came out of law school and came and settled roots down here in Sacramento. So our family's been here a long time. I love it here. I loved growing up here. But I left and went to school and worked at Bain and worked at the NBA. But ever since growing up, I remember when the Kings came, when they moved here from Kansas City, and going to that first game with my dad and becoming a Kings fan, and then I played every sport that I could. And my older brother and I, who was just a year older than me in school, we would play every sport that we could find. And my mom would yell at us for breaking stuff in the house, but we would turn laundry into basketball and football and soccer games. And ever since then, I've always had a passion for sports. And as I was progressing in my career and working at Bain and meeting fantastic people, I always had this hankering to, well, how can I marry those passions of sports and business, which I had been doing. Had the real fortunate opportunity while I was in business school to work for the San Francisco Giants, which are a fantastic organization. And to be honest, I always tried, hey, I love sports. I'm a huge sports fanatic, so many sports, but maybe it won't really work to actually, have a job there. But hey, it's worth a shot. And I had a summer there, and I absolutely loved it. I loved being around it. I felt like I could add a ton of value. I felt like I really melded with the people and really trying to understand the fan base in a new way. And that set me off on a journey that's taken me to here. But again, very many fortunate bounces along the way to be in the place that I grew up in my hometown, being a part of the Kings and helping to build that arena. Now helping to build the Republic and hopefully launch this into an MLS team, and that will be around for generations.
Well, there's a rumor going around that a man named Ron Burkle has been in talks with you guys. Talk to us about that rumor. Is it a rumor? You
got to be careful. It's definitely a rumor. But listen, and Ron Burkle he's a fantastic sports owner. He's a fantastic business person, a fantastic entrepreneur, which is certainly important for this show. He has a connection to Sacramento. If you remember during the Kings fight, Ron Burkle was very much engaged at an early stage in helping to save the Kings. And was looking to be a lead investor. There were some conflicts that came up with his ownership of an agency that had NBA players that represented NBA players, which is why he is not one of the Kings owners. But he certainly has an appreciation for what goes on in this community broadly, and certainly around sports. So with respect to the specific discussions on MLS, yes, he is engaged for all those reasons as you'd expect. It's difficult, given the private nature of these discussions and negotiations, to get into any details. But I certainly think incredibly highly of him, as does everyone that we talk to in Sacramento, and on all our minority partners, and Kevin Nagel, who's been in talks with many. You can start to see there's a number of investors that we look at that care a lot about soccer, care a lot about sports, but also care about the community of which they play. And Ron is certainly one of those.
Well, there's no question. I have tremendous respect for Kevin Nagel and you and what's going on with the ownership group. I love what you're doing. But if we were to pull out a crystal ball, when would we be predicting that we might get an MLS team?
We hope sooner than later. I mean, listen, I'll try to steer away from some prognostications, but we feel strongly that as a community, most importantly, that we've presented, incredibly compelling case for MLS, right? We have the fan base like no other, right? And it really starts. Yes. It starts and stops there. That's proven out at the Kings, but as we talked about with the Republic, just the outpouring of support that started on day one with 20,000 fans coming out strong, and has been a story ever since, has truly been amazing. Certainly the business community alongside that. Second, the stadium is exactly where it should be, and exactly designed how it should be, which was, to be downtown at the rail yards, right? Really in the front door of the city, helping to double the size of downtown and be part of the next growth generation of Sacramento, which is important for business, and to be done in the right way in the rail yards. We can talk for an hour about the story of the rail yards being the westernmost terminus to the Transcontinental Railroad, being a source of innovation more than 100 years ago, and now being reformulated into this way to bring another professional sports team to this community. There's so much there. And then the ownership group, Kevin Nagel, certainly at the top of that list, and what he's done for Sacramento, always been a Sacramento first guy. Mark Friedman, Phil Oates, Larry Kelly, Dave Lucchetti, yourself, the list goes on and on about these people that care a lot about, first and foremost, about Sacramento, and growing this community, making it a better place to live, work, and play, making it a place that will continue to grow and do great things. And I'll say from my seat, I couldn't be more thrilled just to have the opportunity to learn from those individuals and be a small part of it.
You bet. We're going to ask you to stick around. Speaking of getting to break and running out of time, we don't quite have that full hour, but when we come back, we're going to ask John Stone to come back and join us. We're going to talk about Sacramento. We're going to talk about the opportunity that is building, that is brewing right here in our hometown. Join the revolution at HaneyBiz.com. This is the HaneyBiz Project.